So I have no intention of streaming this weekend. Today, my wife's friend visited from England, and we hung out with her and her baby, which was cool. And then tomorrow, I have the family event. So I'm not streaming this weekend, but I still wanted to talk about the situation, which and I found the Jamari video, which seems to be a pretty solid rundown of what's going on. But it's called "Huge Nickmercs Drama." Okay, and I'm like, wow, what is going on here? And what happened is I saw a TikTok of Dr. Disrespect talking about about how he's going to quit Call of Duty because Nickmercs had, I think, his skins pulled from the shop. And I've already reviewed this. Most of my content, I'm going through like a process with you guys. I review something with you and we do it live. But I've already looked into this, and I'm not a big Call of Duty fan, but it seems justified for them to have this response. Now, to be honest with you, because I know people are already like, no, I'm going to explain. I'm explaining it to you. Give me a few minutes. Just follow me on the journey. And you're going to go, I agree with you. However, I agree with him having it pulled, but there also needs to be a pathway for him to have it unpulled. And I'll explain that as things go on. Okay, so let's start this video and follow me on my journey as why I feel this behavior is inappropriate, but how he should have a pathway to have it returned as long as there's an acceptable discourse that I don't think that this individual who made the tweet understands what he said was really bad. Like, it was actually really bad, and it pushes a really toxic idea. Just follow me along. Let's get this video going. It's very short.
So Nickmercs has to be one of the most successful streamers of the last decade, as he has gone from game to game, carrying a massive fan base, and really pushing the envelope in a lot of ways when it comes to streamers being taken seriously on a mainstream level. His fan base, which he calls the M-Fam, are extremely dedicated individuals, and unlike a lot of other streamers out there, a lot of the people watching this guy every single day are actually adults. When it comes to Nickmercs, he's never really been involved in drama himself. Outside of a couple of personal business dealings gone wrong, and beef with other streamers, he's pretty much always been universally loved and respected. But he is a guy who obviously wears his heart on his sleeve whenever possible, and I've always seen him as someone who is genuinely positive towards others. And that really brings me to the highlight of today's story, where Nickmercs has been involved in some massive drama regarding the LGBTQ community, and now also Call of Duty and Activision as a company. So it all started when this tweet went out. Anti-LGBT protesters attack pro-LGBT demonstrators outside of a Glendale, California school board meeting. The school board is voting on recognizing June as Pride Month.
Now, really quickly, when it comes to this topic, okay, I understand the discourse is very loaded when it comes to conversations about LGBTQ in a way that usually wasn't. You know, for me, when I was in school, there were LGBTQ alliances. Nobody really had a problem with it. My wife actually was part of the LGBT, or the Gay Straight Alliance is what they used to call it. There was no problem with it. Nowadays, things are hitting a boiling point. And I think the discourse has gotten lost. And I think that it's a mixture. To be absolutely honest with you, I think the reason the discourse is so obsessed with LGBTQ people is because the conservative party, Republicans, don't have anything else to talk about. Not to be rude. I respect conservatives. A lot of my family are conservatives. They don't hate LGBTQ people, and they don't like the discourse that's going on about LGBTQ people. Their philosophy is live and let live, right? And I like to think most conservatives feel that way. But what's going on now is there's a lot of legislation that's trying to restrict LGBTQ people to a fault, right? Last year, there was legitimate conversations about overturning the Supreme Court ruling that codified gay marriage. Gay marriage, from an objective sense, is protected. There's no non-religious argument to gay marriage, against gay marriage. And so by trying to ban that, you're trying to that's an anti-American thing to do. Okay, I understand that religion isn't generally super accepting of it, and that's fine. You do you. I disagree with it. Whatever. But the fact is that there's no non-religious argument against gay marriage. Okay, once you decided to implement the, government subsidies from getting married, gay people get married. That's how it is. Separation of church and state. We learned this. Okay. And yet that's a lot of the discourse. I understand some of the discourses around trans people. I'm obviously very trans affirming. When it comes to trans adults, I would hope we're all on the same page. You're an adult, you do what you want. Even if you don't think that trans women are women, which I obviously believe that they are, and even if you don't think that trans men are men, I obviously believe that they are, I think that you understand when it comes to adults, we're kosher. When it comes to kids, I understand the discourse gets a little bit different. There's a very robust mental health conversation to have about people transitioning in general. When it comes to kids, I'm apprehensive all the data we have now shows that we're in the right direction because we are talking about mental health care for people. I just hope we're doing the right thing. I think everybody hopes we're doing the right thing, right? I don't want to get super into the discourse and get delicate. The reality is that there's some people who are understandably concerned, and then there's a lot of anti-LGBTQ and trans rhetoric from the Conservative Party, and not a lot of conversations about healthcare or poverty or welfare reform or really anything that's going on. There's really nothing from the Republican Party except to know, and a lot of it, a lot of conservative content creators are very obsessed with LGBTQ rhetoric, and things have really hit a boiling point and gone crazy. This specifically is just there are protesters and anti-protesters. So there's pro-LGBTQ protesters and anti-LGBTQ protesters. You both have a right to do whatever you want. Everybody has the right to express themselves. Things get violent. Apparently, the anti-LGBTQ, there's like 3 of them. It wasn't everybody. They threw fists. I looked into it a little bit. They're protesting this school district recognizing Jewish Pride Month. There's nothing wrong with it. I think that there's appropriate ages to have conversations about different things when it comes to LGBTQ. And some of those ages are still in high school. Okay. Like I said, there's gay straight alliances in high school. There's a proportionality. If you're a little kid, you don't really need to know too much about it, other than maybe you have a gay teacher and they're like, oh, you're a boy? You like boys? And she's like, yeah, I just like boys. Okay, that's as far as the discourse even needs to go. There doesn't need to be any robust conversation. When you get older, you can learn a little bit more. You know, especially by 16, I think that you need to learn that gay people exist. Okay, school is supposed to prepare you for the real world, and if you can't cope with the fact that gay people exist, you're not going to be able to cope with the fact of the real world. Or you're not going to be able to cope with the real world. And so this isn't like a super loaded thing. This is perfectly normal. And again, I'm 33. When I was in high school, like 16 years ago, there was a gay straight alliance, and we were okay. We survived. In fact, nobody was talking about anything. Nobody was going fucking ballistic over gay issues. And yet here we are. And I think a lot of it has to do with social media really riling up people's fears. I don't think anything worse than it used to be. I think that things are just changing. But anyway, let's continue.
Traders outside of a Glendale, California school board meeting, the school board is voting on recognizing June as Pride Month.
Which is
obviously
fun.
At this point, Pride Month has become a very polarizing topic. You've seen people getting canceled and apologizing for homophobic rhetoric, and you've also seen companies like Target and Budweiser facing the wrath of the anti-woke crowd.
Yeah, especially Target. Like, I get the whole Bud Light thing. Listen, Dylan Mulvaney is a trans woman. You could disagree, whatever. Dylan Mulvaney is also a bit cringe. And businesses, they hire Dylan Mulvaney to represent their product in some capacity because they know that, like, people on the right, especially like Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh, they hate trans people and Dylan Mulvaney so much they'll make content about it. So the idea is like, oh, Dylan Mulvaney, polarizing figure, let's support them in some capacity. It'll get our brand out there. And it didn't seem to work particularly well for Budweiser. When it comes to Target just had an LGBTQ section. And a lot of places are very violent about it. And that is because of the public discourse that I just explained, some of the ins and outs of that. It's inappropriate. Target shouldn't have pulled their shit. It shows a weakness, you know, listen, don't buy it for your kid. I'm not going to buy my kid a bunch of gay outfits. Okay. But like, I don't care if you buy your kid. I don't care. It's your kid. You know what I mean? There's worse things going on in the world than a parent buying a kid a gay flag. I don't care. It means nothing to me. You know what I mean? We have so many. Are they going to school and getting a good education, have a good home life? Okay. That's all I really care about. You want to buy your kid a book that says that gay people exist? Okay. It's not, who cares? Like, they do exist. Like, my kids are going to know gay people exist. It's just, yeah, 2 guys can love each other, 2 girls, and a guy and a girl can still love each other. You know, as long as we're doing that, I'm okay, because I love a girl. And that girl is Lilith from Diablo 4. No, it's my wife, of course. Okay, that's all that really matters to me.
So this other guy, MLG Puckett, who I believe is involved in the gaming sphere somehow, responds to this tweet by saying, "This happened 4 blocks from my Overwatch League apartment. Americans are in a sad place right now. Let people love who they love and live your own life." And this is where Nickmercs comes in as he responded to that tweet. They should leave little children alone. That's the real issue.
And right here is a huge problem. And I'm not even going to say Nickmercs knows that he's making it. But what happened? This is what's happening. We have a very normal thing that we've been doing for like 20 years. All right. And that is gay stuff in school. Gay straight alliance. I don't know when. Let's see. When is the gay straight alliance? So 1988. Gay straight alliance. Let's see what happened in schools. In 1988. Yeah, it started in 1988. There's been GSA in schools, for instance, in 1988. That's cool. Nobody's had a complaint about it until 2023. It's fucking wild. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay. What this said, so there's not, what this says here though, they should leave little children alone. That is pushing the narrative that LGBTQ people are grooming children. That's what it communicates. Whether you intend that or not, that is what is being communicated. Now, I'm not going to say Nickmercs is like really trying to push this agenda. I don't know that he is. I'm not going to assume he is. I've never heard of the guy. I've never met the guy. I've never consumed his content. He might just be saying something that he heard from a conservative content creator, and it resonated with him because he assigned his own moral value to it, and he doesn't realize what he's saying. But not to be the TikTok history wizard. Everything's a dog whistle. But this is dog whistle language. What this communicates to especially people that are very homophobic is that LGBTQ people are grooming children, and they're not. Simply put, they're not. Is there some weird stuff in the media? Sure. There's the occasional overly sexualized drag show that kids are going to, right? Like there was that one where the whole point of it was about bring your kids to this event so that you don't have to get daycare. That's the intention. And then you have like a bunch of drag queens dancing with, and I think that's probably not appropriate. I agree with you. But the intentionality, there's no grooming going on. There's just not. It's not happening. Okay? Are kids learning about this stuff? Absolutely. Should we have conversations about what age is appropriate? 1,000%. Public discourse. But we've been having these conversations for a while, and this communicates that LGBTQ people are grooming children. Just the existence of the school board, which deals with kids from like kindergarten to high school. That's what this is about. Just saying Pride Month is poggers. That's it. Unironically, it's pretty poggers among us. Oh, I'm very cringe. That's all it's about. And this is a massively disproportionate, and it says that LGBTQ people are groomers. It's not right. It is bad. Now, some people might have looked at that and just been like, hey, the value you might, and I'm being very charitable. The value you might assign to that is like, hey, you know what? I think that maybe some young kids don't need to hear about this. That's perfectly reasonable. If you're assigning that value to that, I understand, but this isn't the thing to assign that value to. That's like if we had a conversation about some kind of like capital punishment for really, really bad people. And I was like, yeah, I think we should just murder all people, right? Like if somebody's like murder all people and you're like, yeah, I think that we should do some capital punishment on some really bad people. You know what I mean? Like you're taking a disproportionate statement, which this is that, and you're assigning a reasonable value to it. But this in and of itself is incredibly homophobic. It's incredibly problematic. It communicates that LGBTQ people are hurting children, and this is wrong. And what needs to happen from Call of Duty, they pulled his skins. I think that's a proportionate thing to do because this is incredibly dangerous and problematic. But what they need to say, there needs to be like an educational conversation about it. You know, like we're not going to, because here's the thing, you know what? I don't even think that he should have had his merch pulled. Thinking about it now, I think that we have a problem with the way that we do discourse like this. And it's like so punishing immediately. And oftentimes there's no pathway to recovery. And that's what we need. We need like a group of healing. Because there are some people who have very reasonable arguments when it comes to a lot of things. And maybe they express them poorly. And we shun those people instead of listen to the idea that they're trying to communicate. Right? And then we all just get very hyperbolic. And I think that, like, I understand why Call of Duty did it, but I think that there needs to be more of a conversation. Like, hey, man, like, you realize that, like, what you said was pretty fucked, right? And it pushes, like, it could push violence onto gay people. Probably didn't know that. Probably just a dude who plays video games. Okay, so let's continue.
And that's really all he said up until this point, but obviously with this tweet involving the LGBTQ community, it pretty much set a wildfire online, as Nick was now actually faced with a lot of backlash from one side, and also faced with a lot of support from the other. And while his statement is a little bit vague,
it's not that vague.
Personally, I think that anything political, or even anything to do with religion, should be kept out of public schools altogether.
I disagree with that. I watched a little bit of this Jamar video. I think that there should be places for LGBTQ stuff and religious stuff, like different clubs, and also historical conversations about these two things, of course. But they should, those should exist. I'm an Eagle Scout, and I know a lot of times I talk on here, and I criticize religion a lot because a lot of religious rhetoric drives anti-LGBTQ sentiment. But the Eagle Scouts, the Boy Scouts, is inherently very religious. It's very Christian or Catholic, one of those two. I'm a Roman Catholic. I was, Now I'm a Papa Gut. But it's a very religious thing, and were a lot of positive things to derive from it. There can be negative things to derive from religion, but I received, in my opinion, very positive aspects from my religion. I personally never learned any anti-LGBTQ sentiment. And so, I think that there can be a place for it. There can be a place for anybody to learn whatever religion or practice it in some capacity. You shouldn't be forced, but hey, after school clubs, whatever. You want to have your Bible club, whatever, cool. Chess club, Bible club, Gay Straight Alliance, do your thing. I think that there's a place, there's a time, and there's a place to learn about these things. That's what school is. School is to prepare you for the real world. If you can't learn in the same way before, where I said, if you can't learn about the existence of gay people in school, you're not going to be able to function in society. Guess what? If you don't learn about the existence of religion in school, you're not going to be able to function in society. These are two things that need to be taught to some capacity, respecting people's individual beliefs and putting aside your own beliefs. And respecting people, you know what I mean? Everybody has their beliefs, and you don't have to push other people's beliefs on them, except for American beliefs, because America's the best. But for real, if you're living in America, follow the law. The law says you're allowed to be gay. It's cool. That's why I like it here. It's pretty dope. I appreciate that. So yeah.
And I will say, my one caveat with that is that once kids get a little bit older and they're entering high school, I do think that there should be resources for them. I remember when I was going to school, they already had things like the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, as well as things like the Gay Straight Alliance. And obviously, after receiving this backlash, Nickmercs actually went on stream and expanded on his comments.
I didn't like what I was seeing, man. Okay, I saw parents brawling in front of a school with kids.
Yeah, for sure. I can see why that would upset you, sure. Regardless of who started it, right? Because it could have been. Yeah, from what my understanding, it was anti-LGBTQ people that started the fight. But you know what? Even if it was pro-anti-LGBTQ, it doesn't matter. Nobody should be fighting about this topic in front of a school. And it's not going to change my perspective that I think it's fine that they're not recognizing Gay Pride Month in school. Who gives a shit? But it's still that's a shame. It's a shame that it's the LGBTQ discourse has come to this point.
A lot of you guys can understand how that video would piss some people off. It pissed me off. Okay. Now, I mean, full transparency. How do I put this? I gotta be very, very careful here. I don't want to piss anybody off. I'm making a lot of people mad. Wasn't my intention. I mean, listen, my wife and I just had a baby. Brand new father. We seen these kinds of videos. It's sad. But her and I agree that we want to be the ones to talk to our kid about things like that. I'm trying to keep it really simple, just so we don't have to get too crazy about it, because there's nothing to get crazy about. It really is that simple. I think I just have a bigger perspective on this now, being a parent, than I did maybe 2 months ago. The video bothered me, right? I just don't think it's any place for a teacher or a school. I don't think it's the place to speak about things like that. And it's not that I think that it shouldn't be spoken about. If that's what you got from that tweet, then you're just wrong. I don't have any quarrel with anybody in here. I don't have any quarrel with people.
So two things. One, he didn't communicate that in the tweet. And, giving him tremendous benefit of the doubt, he misspoke. Because what he said was that LGBTQ people are groomers. That's what you said. Whether you meant it or not is, debatable. But that's what you said. You didn't say, hey, I don't think that schools should be teaching this topic, because I disagree with you, and I'll get into that, but that's reasonable. I've heard that before, and I think, okay, I get it. You feel it's a very sensitive topic. Okay, cool. That's normal. You didn't say that. You pushed the idea that LGBTQ people are groomers. You said that they need to leave little children alone. You didn't communicate that. And part of me feels like after hearing this, you actually meant what you said, and that you might have been pushing that. Maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, the pathway needs to be listen, bro. Let me tell you a story. When I was in work, I had some friends there, and I worked with a guy, and at one point he started busting my friend was working, and then my friend and this other guy were working together, and my friend sprayed my butt with Windex, drenched my ass. Right, I was wearing these uniforms, so whatever, and it pissed me off. I was like, okay, whatever. And then the other guy did it to me. My friend sprayed a little bit, and the other guy just drenched it. I was a little pissed, but I'm like, okay, I got him back. Right, ended it there. For the next couple months, he would routinely, completely spray my ass. So, one time I went and I was like, I'm gonna report you now. So I walked off. I pretended to report him. I came back, and he was sweating. He's like, oh, bro, why'd you? I said, I didn't report you, bro. Just so you guys stop. Right. I was like, okay, he gets it now. Then he kept doing it, bro. And we're talking about months later. I was like, okay, I reported him for it. He ended up getting suspended for it. Now, where this becomes relevant is that, we were friendly. And I had sent him a picture of an adult entertainer named Bailey J. I said, do you think that this girl's hot? And he said, I do think that girl's hot. Papa Gut. That's what he called me. He didn't call me that. And I sent him another picture of Bailey J. I sent him more of the adult entertainer aspect of it. Bailey J is a very beautiful woman. Bailey J also happens to have pee-pee, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I respect Bailey J, unironically, okay? I appreciate your content. Thank you for your service. And he was like, oh, ew, of course, because he's such a transphobe piece. No, I'm just kidding. This was like 10 years ago plus, right? So this, that was what it was. The point I'm getting at was that what I did was inappropriate. I don't even know why. I had a fucking point for this story. The point was I was trying to say is that I got reported for being sexual harassment for that, and I got a day suspension, and I think that that's fair. They sat me down and they explained it to me. They said, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. I think that was the point I'm getting at, is that people make mistakes sometimes and they do dumb shit. But there needs to be a pathway to recovery. There needs to be sensitivity training. That was the point I think I was getting to. And that's all that really needs to happen here. Someone to sit down and be like, listen, you can have whatever belief that you want. It's a totally reasonable perspective. Even though I disagree, again, I'm going to bring it up. That if you think that people shouldn't be learning that in school, okay, that's a fine perspective to have. You can respectfully communicate that without being hateful. But what you said was not reasonable. What you said was very loaded, and I had it here, and now it's gone. Right? What you said is they should leave little children alone. That's the real issue. That is communicating that LGBTQ people are groomers. And that's wrong. That's wrong. That needs to be the central focus of the conversation. Now, when it comes to teaching gay people exist in schools, you need to do that. Here's the reality, right? Is that there's obviously age-appropriate conversations. A 4-year-old doesn't need to know about the ins and outs. But, as kids get older, they need to learn to be accepting of everybody. Different religions, different, sexualities. And it's really about love. It's not about sex. It's about love. It really is about love. 2 guys can love each other. 2 girls can love each other. 2 they-thems can love each other. Whatever. And you need to learn about these things because then if you different races, you need to learn that people are different and they need to be tolerated. That's what school's for. There are times and places, there are age-appropriate aspects, but that is what schools are for. I disagree with him fundamentally, but this perspective is reasonable that he has. Or rather, it's not hateful, so I can engage with it. But the other one is it's just too conspiracy-esque, and it's a dangerous perspective, and that's why you deserved a punishment, but you deserve a pathway back. You shouldn't be so mortally wounded by something like that. That doesn't encourage positive social conversation because everybody's that looked at his tweet and were like, it's not a big deal. They're not going to learn anything from it. And the people that got that he got and him getting canceled in some capacity, that's just going to make virtue bullies feel like they're going to go, oh my God, thank you so much. Oh, I feel so good about myself because they think they did a good thing. Right? Because a lot of times people are just looking for valid reasons to bully people. And sometimes that's what virtue bullies are. Cancel culture can be very virtuous virtue bully. I'm not saying that Call of Duty is a virtue bully. I'm saying that there are people who get off to it. They're like, oh my God, punish people. I love it. That's not what society's about. That doesn't encourage productive conversation. So
on the internet, it wasn't an anti, I guess, gay.
It was.
Tweet.
It was an anti-gay
tweet.
What
it was. Now listen, if you have issues with me or if you have issues with that tweet, then hey, listen, I'm down to agree to disagree. That's fine. We can agree to disagree. But if you think that I hate you because you're a certain way, you just couldn't be any more wrong.
That is what's communicated there. If I was an LGBTQ person, I might take a really big offense to that because you're making a broad statement that they are grooming children. That's what you're just letting you know. That's what that communicates. They should leave little kids alone. That's a lot. This is loaded.
Yeah, I do not feel that way. I just simply feel that I want to be the one and my wife wants to be the one.
That's fine.
To speak with our child about stuff like that. And that was the tweet. That was the tweet.
And I respect that. But also in schools, the public school is about learning to accept different people. And so this is the positive discourse.
So if you came here to hear that, I hope you feel a little better about it. I didn't mean to upset anybody. I know that I did.
I'm sure that he didn't mean to upset anybody. He's probably just speaking very raw about his emotions. And you know what? We've all been there, brother. Sometimes you don't worry about the optics of everything. Sometimes you can't worry about the optics of everything. Especially, I would say, some gaming streamers, bro, because they seem to be normal dudes that are just playing games, bro. Being terminally online myself and engaged in social discourse, when I look at something now, it's not just about what's being said. It's about the 700 different meanings that could be interpreted. You know what I mean? The gamers might have just interpreted this as like some kind of like his reasonable perspective of, hey, maybe you shouldn't learn this in school. Incredibly homophobic people probably interpreted this as, yes, I hate LGBTQ people, right? So there's just a lot of different perspectives. But overall, if you wanted to communicate that you think that parents should be the ones to teach their kids this stuff, that's what you could have said. Hey, I think that parents should be the ones to teach their kids. You could have just said that, right? You didn't have to say a very loaded tweet. So
I'm not apologizing about the tweets. I don't feel like it's wrong.
You are.
Stand by what I said. I'm not going to delete the tweet.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to make sure everybody understands exactly the point I was trying to make.
Okay.
By tweeting my response.
And so I would say that was much more of a clarification than any sort of apology.
Yeah. It still isn't accurate. Doesn't accurately depict what was said in the tweet, but I'll fair enough.
Like he said in the video, he didn't feel the need to apologize. And personally, I don't really feel like he had anything to apologize for either.
Yeah, well,
the man was merely stating
wrong.
his opinion. It's not like he was just spouting off a bunch of homophobic bullshit.
No, he did. He did spout off homophobic. Whether he meant it or not. Again, he pushed the idea that gay people are groomers, but just keep that in mind. You guys are wrong about this one.
And I really do not see this.
His intention, I'm sure, was more positive than that, but that's what he did.
This is any different than someone saying they wouldn't want religious beliefs being pushed in the school system.
No, that's not what it was. If he had, that's not at all based on the tweet. No, it's not.
Which is an extremely common belief held by many people out there today, and I don't think they would be getting canceled for said belief.
Sure. But that's not what he said. He didn't say, I don't think that the schools should be teaching LGBTQ. He said that they're to leave little children alone. He insinuated the grooming. So.
And this is where Call of Duty gets involved. As they say, due to recent events, we have removed the Nickmercs operator bundle. We are focused on celebrating pride with our employees and our community. And for those of you guys that don't know, Nickmercs had recently gotten his own skin in Call of Duty.
Sorry, I sneezed. Yeah, so listen, like I said, their action is like fine. I would expect that action, and it's good to stand with LGBTQ now more than ever. But there needs to be a pathway to positive, reasonable recovery or discourse. There's nothing to recover from, but you get my point. So that's where that needs to be. Call of Duty should have tweeted, "Hi, Nick." Actually, they shouldn't have tweeted anything. They should have reached out to Nick. Well, they need to distance some of it from their brand. So this is what they should have done. They should have tweeted, "Hey, Nick, we find this post to be very problematic. We've reached out to you. And we, in some capacity, communicate that we want you to have some kind of a sensitivity training while we evaluate your skin being in our shop. And as of right now, all proceeds of buying the skin are going to go to the Gay Pride Foundation, whatever." Right. So then all of this homophobic people are like, "Oh my God, if I buy this skin, I'm actually not supporting my creator," but I'm just kidding. But that, I think, would be the best way to go. Like, hey, listen, we need you to talk to us, like sensitivity training. We've done that when I was in a real job. We did that. Why wouldn't they do it here? If you want to maintain your skin on the store, as of right now, like, we're going to halt all the proceeds. And if we can't come to blah, 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 something along those lines, something a little bit more productive. And then have the conversation with him as to what's going on. And if Nike doesn't feel like they can have the conversation with him intelligently, then Nike is virtue signaling about gay shit. Sorry, not gay shit. Like they're virtue signaling about gay pride. I like gay pride. It's not bad. So cancel me. I'm not. Don't make me next. No, but if Nike can't have the discourse, if Nike can't hire somebody to have the productive discourse, then Nike doesn't care about gay people. And like trans people or LGBTQ people. That's just a fact, right? Like, you should be able to explain why you're right when you're right about something, right? It shouldn't just be to sell things, right? Call of Duty. It should be to be positively productive. And so I think that would have been a better way to go.
Our employees in our community. And for those of you guys that don't know, Nickmercs had recently gotten his own skin in Call of Duty. For those of you guys that aren't privy to this information, it basically means that you can now play in the Call of Duty games with a character that looked like Nickmercs, and Call of Duty has now removed that character from the game.
Yeah, look a little stinky. Yeah, bro, it's really me, man. That's crazy, bro. I look angry, bro. Yeah, he's got no neck like me for real.
And even when they added this skin from the start, it was a little bit controversial for some people out there, because while Nickmercs did used to be a massive name in the Call of Duty community, it had actually been quite some time since he had actually played Call of Duty, and people felt
Interesting. It seems like they're just trying to get people to come back to the game.
Like there were other streamers more deserving than him to receive this skin. Regardless, there's what they're talking about when they're saying they took his skin out of the game. And so that all went down yesterday, and now today Nickmercs actually has a fresh response to all this new drama with Call of Duty involved this time. And he says, friends are creating good times, but families are built through adversity. Appreciate all of you that have my back. Understand my position as a new father, and recognize the love I have for all. Ain't no hate in this heart. Peace and love.
So here's my thing, because I'm sure Nickmercs is going to be an excellent father. I don't know the guy, but I would never speak poorly not knowing somebody about it. However, based on his tweet, I think it's possible that he might have some regressive values when it comes to LGBTQ stuff, right? That's not the only thing that makes somebody a father. Obviously, there's 1,000 million other more things. And so again, just all the more reason why Nike, oh my God, what did I say? Call of Duty. Oh, Jesus, did I say Nike before? Stop. Call of Duty needs to do some kind of sensitivity training. Just like a fucking couple hours. Like, hey man, let's talk. There's nothing wrong with that. We did that at work. I mean, real jobs, why not? Hey man, we just need you to do a little online class, like an hour or two. We need to have a productive conversation about it. That's reasonable. Because you don't want this to drip down onto his kid, because it's not inappropriate to learn about LGBTQ stuff in schools. Age appropriate, of course, but it's not inappropriate in general, fundamentally. And if he believes that, then he has a very bad relationship with his understanding of the LGBTQ community. And true advocacy isn't shunning people that might have an ignorant perspective. You might disagree with me about the perspective being ignorant, but I think you would agree with me, fundamentally, any advocacy group is supposed to lead with intelligence and communication of the issue, right? And I think that it is exhausting for a lot of LGBTQ people to fight for their lives every day. Not literally their lives sometimes, but not most of the time. But I think that if I was a gay person and I was online and I heard anti-gay rhetoric every fucking day, I would be upset. And I understand why gay people and trans people wouldn't want to come online and debate the validity of their existence every single day. And so that's why, Call of Duty, get a diversity person to talk to him and be like, listen, bro, this is what you said. This is why it's problematic. This is what you meant to say, but you didn't communicate that with your tweets. You understand that pushing this narrative can be really dangerous for these groups of people. And then you know what I think he'd say? I think he would say, oh, I didn't think, I would imagine he would be like, oh, I didn't mean to communicate that. And then if he was like, but I do have a problem with this, then that's the diversity officer or whatever that's getting paid to be an advocate. It's a responsibility to properly communicate and go okay, well, here's the problem. Right? Is that so hard? Okay. It's not so hard. We really need to have more discourse like this. If you want to reduce LGBTQ people being attacked, there needs to be more productive conversations like this. There just needs to be. The way that we need to engage with this topic is from a more clinical behavioral perspective. Sorry for being a nerd. Okay, I know it's a meme now, but my wife is a social worker. She's a behavioral specialist. It is for the IDD community, which is not the LGBTQ community, but we do have conversations, very robust, just fundamentally about different mental health aspects and different behavioral aspects and different behavioral protocols to change different behaviors people are exhibiting. My wife was also used to be very active in the LGBTQ community, in the Gay Straight Alliance. So when you have a behavior, you have an individual who does a thing, right? And then there is what he did or they did, and then there's what they meant to do. Those are two different things. You need to humanize people that you might perceive as inhuman. There's going to be people that are going to look at Nickmercs as an inhuman person. Clearly he's not. He's a person that's much more complicated than an LGBTQ take. Because that's what it was. It was an anti-LGBTQ take. And so there needs to be an educational conversation about that. That just needs to be what happens. Play.
So yes, guys, obviously at this point the political wars are very intense. People are getting cancelled all around for various reasons, whether that be making their core demographic angry, or like I said, having some sort of crazy quote on their Twitter account. But at least in my opinion, Nickmercs really didn't do anything worthy of a cancellation at all.
I think he did, but I think we need to stop canceling people, and we need to start providing productive pathways to reasonable, positive change.
He really just put his opinion out there about a news topic in a little video.
And it was hateful
clip,
again.
And now it's likely cost him millions of dollars. But y'all let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Try to remain at least somewhat civil in your discourse with each other. I know on these more political videos, people get pretty heated down there. Either way, I do want to thank you guys for watching today's video, dropping a like and subscribing. But as you guys know, it's been your boy the Tan Superman, and there's some other tweets out here that need to be covered, so I'm out.
Okay, cool. I think the video was well presented, but obviously I disagree fundamentally. Yeah. So that's that.